Elastic deformation error is caused by the measuring force. So if the force is zero, there won't be any deformation. So that is the advantage of optical instruments. There is no measuring force applied. But all mechanical instruments, there is a certain force applied. So that causes some deformation of the workpiece. And that results in elastic deformation error. So elastic deformation error depends on the force applied, the geometry of the component, the materials of the component, the type of contact, the length of contact. So this is the general classification of the potential causes of elastic deformation error. So to derive the elastic deformation, we use the theory from strength of materials or theory of elasticity. So we make these assumptions. The surfaces in contact are perfect smooth. But strictly speaking, this is not correct, but we neglect the surface roughness and all. Elastic limits of the materials are not exceeded. So it is elastic deformation only. There is no plastic deformation. And the materials are homogeneous. So material properties do not change, are the same at all positions. These are all reasonable assumptions. Then frictional forces within the contact area are neglected. So when you contact two surfaces, there will be some frictional forces also because of roughness and all, but we are assuming it is perfectly smooth and there is no friction. So for metrology, so this is actually basically the Hertz theory. So Puttock and Thwaite has divided the different cases. They have tabulated the different cases for metrological applications. And they have published a booklet. So they are metrologists from Australian National Institute. They published a book so that all metrological institutes can use that. So they divide different cases. First is for spheres, contact between spheres. So two spheres in contact, a sphere in contact with the plane, a sphere between two parallel planes, and sphere in contact with an internal spherical surface. So like this, they have the number of cases. Then cylinder, two cylinders, axis at right angles, axis parallel, axis at any arbitrary angle. Then cylinder in contact with the plane, cylinder between two planes. So different cases are there. For each case, the answer is given by Puttock and Thwaite. So they have derived all the, they are not given the derivation, they are just given the formula. So something like a design data book for metrology. So Puttock and Thwaite's table is famous. It is available on the net. Only it is not very readable. It is it's an old book, typewritten. So the fonts and all are little bad to read. But anyway, that is the classic material or source for this. Then sphere and cylinder. So sphere with external cylinder, sphere with internal cylinder, cylindrical degree, etc. So these are the major cases in Puttock and Thwaite's book. So now we'll see one or two simple cases just to illustrate how elastic deformation is computed. So nomenclature, alpha is the total elastic compression at the point of line of contact of two bodies measured along the line of the applied force in mm. So there are two bodies in contact. So with a certain force applied, so the deformation along the line of the applied force, measured along the line of the applied force, is given by alpha. P is the total applied force in Newton. So alpha is in mm, P is the force in Newton. So please note this. So Puttock and Thwaite's table uses Newton and millimeter. D is diameter of the body, mm. E is Young's mode of the material of the Newton per mm square. G is the modulus of rigidity of the material of the body, again Newton per mm square. Nu is the Poisson's ratio, E by 2G minus 1. So these are not, we cannot vary them totally independently. There is a relationship between these two. Then in order to simplify the formula, we have a variable called V. There is no name given. V is defined as 1 minus nu square by pi E. So E is here and nu is coming from Poisson's ratio. So if G is given, nu, G and E are given, nu can be calculated from this. So V is equal to 1 minus nu square by pi E. So this is the nomenclature used for the formula. So first case is sphere in contact with a plane. So if you have a sphere in contact with a plane, so you apply a force P down. So what will happen? The sphere will get compressed and will take up this position. And the flat surface also will get compressed. It will take up this position. So the mean final position will be somewhere here. So both are getting compressed. The sphere is getting compressed. The flat surface is also compressed. So in this situation, alpha is equal to V1 plus V2 into 3 pi P is this by whole square by 8D whole raised to 1 by 3. So D is the diameter of the sphere. Okay, so now let us do a small problem based on that. So determine the elastic combustion if a steel ball of diameter 25 mm is placed between steel anvils and a force of 2.5 newtons applied. V is equal to 1.388 into 10 raised to minus 6 millimeter square per Newton. So here, so the previous formula is alpha for one side. So the steel ball is placed between steel anvils. So that's just like a micrometer. It is placed between a micrometer faces and tightened. Then the total deformation will be the deformation on both sides. So that is equal to 2 alpha. So rest is same. So substitute and try to calculate. So the answer is 0.00055 mm. That is 0.5 microns. Half a micron is the amount of elastic deformation for approximately 25 dia with force of 2.5 newtons. Okay, so remember the thermal error. Thermal error for approximately 1 inch was around 3 micron, whereas elastic deformation is only half a micron. Similarly, cosine error is very low, but sine error was also around 3 micron. But this is lower than that. So usually elastic deformation is not a major problem, provided the forces and all are very carefully controlled. Especially when using a micrometer, people, if you don't take care, there is a possibility that you apply excess force, then it will work like a screw jack. Okay, what is a screw jack? So if your small rotation will cause high axial force. So such an effect will be there, and because of that, many times the workpiece gets damaged or the micrometer gets damaged. So many of our instruments in the lab have that problem because students don't take care when rotating the screw. So once it locks, they should not apply more force because there's a lot of magnification of the force happening in the screw. Okay, so this is how you calculate the elastic deformation between a sphere and two faces. So what if the ball material is copper with V equal to 2.39 into 10 raised to minus 6 millimeter square per Newton? So same formula except V1 is 1.388, V2 is 2.39. So that is 0.0006819 mm. So again, slight change. The copper is little more softer, so the deformation will be more, 0.55 to 0.68 micron. Okay, any doubt on this? So how to calculate elastic deformation? Basic idea is there. Okay, we'll illustrate one more case, which is cylinder in contact with the plane. So cylinder figure is same. So only thing is, earlier it was a sphere, now it is a cylinder. So this is axis symmetric. The axis is perpendicular to the screen. So 2a is the length of the cylinder in contact with the anvil. So the how much length of the cylinder is in contact with the anvil? That is 2a. So the length per unit, sorry, the force per unit length, that is P bar, is P by 2a. So if P bar once you calculate, then the deformation alpha along the line of the force will be ln of 8a square by V1 plus V2 into P bar into D plus 1 into V1 plus V2 into P bar. So this is the elastic deformation. For a cylinder in contact with a plane. Okay. So we'll do a problem based on this formula. Determine the elastic combustion. If a steel cylinder of diameter 25 mm is placed between steel anvils of 2 mm dia and a force of 2.5 newtons applied. So P bar is P by 2A is 1.25 Newton per mm. Then 2 alpha, because we want the total elastic deformation on either side. So it is twice the deformation on one side. So that is 2 alpha. That is equal to 2 into P bar into all this. So substitute and calculate. We get 0.000086. That is 0.000. So after that it becomes micrometers. So 0.086 micrometers. So less than 0.1 micrometer. So whereas for sphere and between two flat plates we got on 0.5 microns. Now it is 0.1, less than 0.1 micrometers. So the elastic deformation for a cylinder is even less compared to that of a sphere and plane. So in general, that's why the type of contact. So that's why we say the type of contact. So sphere and surface, it is what is the type of contact? It is point contact. Whereas cylinder and surface, what is the type of contact? It is line contact. So point contact, the deformations will be more compared to line contact. Then other types of deformation, sag error. So this is applicable for length bars, long gauge blocks. So length bar like meter bar and all are usually supported at 2 points like this. A long bar is supported at 2 points. So because the weight, this part will come down and the middle also will come down and the right side also will come down. So the meter bar will take up a position like this. So bending under self weight. So the weight of the bar itself will cause bending of the length bar. So this shape depends on the spacing between the supports A. So if L is the length of the bar and A is the spacing between supports, so we can choose different spacings. So We can have 3 supports also, but then there is a problem. It becomes statically indeterminate. So then it becomes unpredictable. So it is better to know the error rather than leaving it indeterminate. So that's why we many times we choose to have only 2 supports. So we can have different distances between the supports. If the bar is supported at the so-called airy points, then the end faces will be parallel. So this is used for end standards. So gauge blocks and all are end standards. The end faces are the reference surfaces. So for such objects, they have to be supported at the airy points. So the distance between supports A is equal to L by root 3 is equal to 0.5774 L. So this is the distance between supports. So L is the length of the beam. Then another special points are Bessel points. So if the bar is supported at Bessel points, then it results in maximum length of the beam. The distance between this point to this point will be a maximum. So this is used for line standards. So line standards are lines engraved on the surface. So for line standards, we support the beam at Bessel points. So for Bessel points, A equal to 0.5594 L. So this is the meter bar. Okay, standard length bar. So there is a line engraved on this surface and another line at the other end. Distance between the 2 lines is defined as the meter, or any known dimension may be defined like this. So the distance between the 2 supports is A. So A should be equal to 0.5594 L to get maximum length of the length bar. Okay. So that is, so these 2 cases about, okay, sag due to supports. Then self-weight can also cause deformation of upright gauge blocks, shortening of upright gauge blocks. So delta L equal to rho G L square by 2E. So delta L is the length of shortening, rho is the density of material, G is the acceleration due to gravity, and L is the total length of the gauge block. E is the Young's modulus of elasticity. So if you keep a gauge block vertically, the material at the top will compress the material at the bottom. So that will cause some deformation, and that can be computed as rho G L square by 2E. Okay, let us try to determine how much it is. So determine the shortening of a 500 mm gauge block of steel due to self-weight. Okay. So applying this density 10,800, G 9.81, length is, so you have to convert to meters when you apply this formula. E is modulus of elasticity of steel, 210 × 10⁻⁹. So the deformation is 45.5 nanometers. So this self-weight deformation is much smaller. Okay, so usually we can neglect this, except when the length is large and your accuracy desired is more. Then you have to be very careful. But otherwise, this is negligible in most practical situations. Okay. Okay, so with that basic, our discussion on errors, we conclude. So one basic rule to reduce the error of measurement is given by Carl Tisler. The indication of a measuring instrument should always be set under the same conditions as those which will apply when measuring later on. So if you follow this rule, the errors will get cancelled out many a time. The error in setting will cancel out the error during measurement. So this is a fundamental rule to reduce the error of measurement. So I would simplify this into a shorter form. Measure under the same conditions as calibrate.